Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcome, Andrew, Sky, Adam, Johnny. We have a full house tonight, and you know that is because there is one reason for it. It is Super Bowl week. We are going into the last game of the NFL 2023-24 season in Las Vegas, Nevada. It'll be 11:30 at night between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. Part of us maybe would have been gone to Vegas. We did get the invite, but, you know, we thought we'll give this one a miss. We don't need the bright lights in the big city when we've got each other, you know, because we're better together. That's why. So I hope we're all doing okay, guys. An exciting week, an even more exciting week. We're doing a Super Bowl meetup between us as pals as well. I mean, there's going to be drinks flowing, food flowing. We'll be in Pizza Express because it's the only place Adam can eat. So there'll be a few pepperonis knocking about, a couple of bologneses. He laughs, but it happens every time. Very exciting week. It's really cool to see the people who are contemporaries and also people who are big of us in the podcast world and in the media world, all landing in Vegas. Radio Row's been happening. Been following a couple of the guys who we've made friends with during our media outings this year in Germany and in London as well. And it's really cool. And I hope they all have the best of times. Right, we might as well crack right into it. Let's all get our opinions about who's going to win this thing. Super Bowl 58, 49ers, they're the top seed of the NFC against the Chiefs, who are the third seed in the AFC. Andrew, we're going to roll around to you to begin with. A Super Bowl, a lot of people would have predicted before the season started. How do you see this contest going and what these teams need to do to get themselves over the line?
Yeah, it's going to be a really good contest. I think it's a nice little matchup we've got going on here. Obviously, the Chiefs currently playing the best football they've played all year going into this, and the 49ers probably struggling the most they've struggled throughout the season, not as dominant as they were at the start. So it makes it really, really interesting. And I think we're going to have a nice little shootout of Kansas City defense versus the 49ers offense. I think that's the matchup that this is going to go down to. So, really, really looking forward to it.
Sky, it's a Bakerless Super Bowl. I know it breaks your heart. Your team, the Cowboys, didn't make it. Your team, the Patriots, didn't make it. I mean, I can imagine you're going to struggle to support one of these teams because I know you like to flip between a few. You know,
I haven't.
Which side are you leaning here?
I haven't swore in a year since joining the pod, and I almost did then with all of that. All that slander. It almost came out. I said the 49ers. You'll get Adam right up. When I made my pick, I've said the 49ers throughout the season. Obviously, like in terms of who I actually think is going to win, and I'd stick by that. I was going to say this stat for the end, but you know what? Before we went live, I said I know who's going to win. I'm going to tell you how it's going to happen, and Andrew set me up perfectly. The Chiefs allowed 17.3 points per game in the regular season. They're only allowing 13.7 in the postseason. So if the 49ers don't score 20, they lose. And if they do score more than 20, they'll win because they're 20-0 with Brock Purdy when they've scored at least 20 points. So there you go. That's it.
Wow, someone did their research on the pod. Wow, geez.
20-0 is impressive though, right? With at least 20 points. It's not like, I feel like with Brock Purdy, there was... Last year it was, we don't have a big enough sample on him. He was carried, but he leads so many metrics in terms of first against the blitz. People talked about Spagnuolo and how well that they managed to blitz against Lamar Jackson. But, I mean, don't want to upset Adam here because Ravens were his team that he was picking to go all the way. But they just didn't rush. They didn't run the ball. And I feel like Shanahan will have a game plan there where they can deal with the blitz and McCaffrey can hurt them on the ground. Because I think that's the weakness. Yes, there are arguments on the 49ers side as well. We've seen them get torn apart by the Packers and then against the Lions as well. But I think the 49ers have got multiple routes to success in this game.
I'm surprised you didn't pull out the stat about the winning his team in white jerseys compared to coloured jerseys and everything like that. Is that because it's the white? It's sided with white jerseys, right? Don't they? Are they more frequent winners? Or have I got that wrong around?
No. Yeah.
Do we have the exact number? I'm curious.
Do you have the
now.
exact number, Adam? Have you got the stat?
No, I don't. I just assumed that was the kind of stat that Sky would come out with, you see. So I was surprised that he didn't come up with that one. So, yeah. Instead, he came up with another completely pointless one. But there you go.
No, why was it pointless?
Have you got any pointless stats for us, Adam, that may contribute to either the Chiefs beating the 49ers or Brock Purdy winning this for them?
No, I have no stats at all for you, I'm afraid, other than the fact that I think that, as we've seen, if you bet against Mahomes, you lose. So we know who's probably going to win.
So you think the Chiefs are going to win it? It's
just I think the Chiefs will win.
It's just all the Mahomes factor, though.
I think their defense is better than the 49ers defense. I think that, as we've seen with Mahomes, home or away, he seems to get the job done. The 49ers in this playoff run have conceded quite a few points against the Packers and the Lions, and also against the run, which is surprising. So I think Pacheco will have a really good game in this one. I just think it'll be a lot closer than what some people think, but I think the Chiefs' experience will get them over the line.
I'll move on to you, Johnny. Who do you think's running away with that Lombardi trophy at the end of the night in Vegas?
I'm going to have to go with everyone else. I think the narrative around the Super Bowl just fits the Chiefs perfectly as the winners. You know, the team that have probably had a bit of a down year, I think, regular season wise, but you can't bet against Mahomes, and they've got an elite scoring defense as well, and that was personified against the Ravens. And I think with everything with this being in Las Vegas, the whole hype around Taylor Swift, whether or not she's going to make it or not, I don't know. I think it just fits perfectly for the script writers to have a Chiefs victory. So, I'm not going to go. I'd love to see the 49ers win. I'll just throw it out there. I'd love to see some of the players on their team, get a ring. But I don't think I want to bet against Mahomes at this stage.
I'm really split down the middle with this because I really don't want the Chiefs to win, but I think they will because of the Mahomes factor and because their defense is really severely underrated. But I am really backing the 49ers. I really want them to win. I mean, Christian McCaffrey carried my fantasy team all season. So obviously I love him quite a lot. And also I really enjoy their defense. Fred Warner is one of my favorite players in the league at this point. He's so good in that middle linebacker position. But they just always find a way to win, the Chiefs. They've been here. They've proved themselves many a time in this place. And if anything, the Chiefs, like Sky said, the Chiefs have been playing their best football. Sorry, no, Andrew said, well, one of you said the Chiefs have been playing their best football in the playoffs, and the 49ers have actually looked shaky more than anything. There's a lot of things surrounding, Andrew, this Super Bowl, loads of narratives and storylines, one of them being Brock Purdy and, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft in the 2022 draft, if I'm correct. Obviously, got to an NFC Championship last year, got injured very early in the game, loads of quarterback injuries in that game. The 49ers basically just played to lose in the last quarter because of that. And then they've been on a big trajectory this year. A lot of it was hoping that Brock Purdy would stay healthy for the whole season, which he's done a very good job at doing. And a lot of players on this team have been seeming to be deserving to go to the Super Bowl because they have been outstanding. What does this run say for Brock Purdy in his future and maybe some of the naysayers out there, and especially if he wins this?
Yeah, especially if they do win the Super Bowl, there's a strong possibility that he might also be the Super Bowl MVP as well. 9 times out of 10, it tends to go to a quarterback. And I haven't done my research like Sky did, but I don't remember ever a time where Mr. Irrelevant was the Super Bowl MVP. So I think that's going to hold quite a lot of stature in the NFL itself for it to be an accolade for him to take. I do worry, though, that there is an alternative scenario with this, that he's been largely outplayed in both of the playoff games by the other quarterback. So if we know the Chiefs start off quick, they like to get ahead early, and if they knock Purdy and he doesn't start off strong, then they lose. Is there a scenario where the 49ers then say, maybe this isn't the guy that can get us to the end goal, and there might be a bit of off-season quarterback competition between him and Sam Darnold, maybe?
You cannot still be on the Sam Darnold train. Surely.
Never was
Come
on it,
on.
mate.
It's like you and Colin Cowherd are the only people still on the Sam Darnold train.
Never been on the Sam Darnold train. I just he has been largely outplayed. Jordan Love outplayed him for 3 quarters, and Goff outplayed him for 2 quarters. So, it's.
Can I just say we've just lost all our viewers because you mentioned Sam Darnold. Like they literally, it's just dropped like a stone. So.
They're gonna come back for a stat though. I do know that I couldn't tell you how many. I don't think Mr. Irrelevant. I don't know if they've won the Super Bowl MVP, but I do know who the first Mr. Irrelevant to be part of a Super Bowl winning roster was. Anyone know? I don't know because he played for the Patriots.
One of your running backs.
No, it was a special teams random guy called Marty Moore. Against the Rams, the Patriots' first win. He was the first Mr. Irrelevant to be part of a Super Bowl winning roster. I'm sure I bet you someone will check and then correct me later, but I'm 90% certain. Just Patriots trivia.
So we lost Fred. Fred is now silent. Does that make me the host?
Yeah.
We can't
You've
hear
taken
Fred.
over.
It's going to be trivia night, Super Bowl trivia night.
Well, after my statement, my outrageous statement of Purdy, just want to get your guys' thoughts quickly. Adam, I know obviously I've come out with something a bit outrageous. Maybe you can bring us back down to ground. I talked about this being a big thing for Purdy. Is it a big thing for Shanahan as well? Because obviously Andy Reid was in a similar position and he managed to get over the line and win a Super Bowl and then win another one. Do you feel like Shanahan's now in a position where if he doesn't get over the line, people might be talking about if he can do it? Or do you think he will get over the line and then go on and win multiple Super Bowls like Reid has?
Yeah, a lot of people are saying this, aren't they? Like, if he wants to be considered one of the greats, he's got to win a Super Bowl. I think to a certain extent, that's probably true, really, when you think about it and how it does work in the NFL. You kind of have to win the Super Bowl in order to be considered that. I think it's one where when you think about all these coaches that have come through the sort of Mike Shanahan tree, and so it's sort of all come through Kyle and then everyone else, and you sort of think, well, if it doesn't happen, it's just another knock against it, isn't it? So that's the problem with that. It's like you always need to, I suppose in a way, he's the one who kind of needs to validate himself a little bit. And become that sort of like that great, and then all of a sudden that tree is going to be like, yeah, they're going to keep going down it for many years to come. I mean, they're doing it anyway, but it just sort of feels that is a thing. But I do think he might struggle on this one.
Sky, and on the flip side of that, I'm going to come to you for this because you're well known in this part of American football. If Andy Reid does win this, what are we saying in terms of the Kansas City and being a dynasty and taking that mantle off of the Patriots? Do you think this solidifies it for them, or do you think there's more they need to do?
I think them winning this solidifies it. I know we touched upon this briefly earlier in the chat, but I don't think they're a dynasty now. It's just a case of you've got to. Of course, they've been consistent. I'm trying to find what I actually wrote earlier because I felt like it was good and relevant. But, the Patriots, you'll remember, Andrew, when we lost that 2011 Super Bowl to the Giants, there was no dynasty talk until we went and beat the Seahawks in 2014. And that was, off the back of 2 championship games and a Super Bowl. And then you get the wins over the Falcons and the Rams and another loss to the Eagles. And that's when you start to go, well, you've won it 3 in 5 years now. You're a dynasty. Whereas with the Chiefs, yes, they've made 6 title games in a row, but I think it is 6 in a row, right? Was it 6 AFC title games in a row? If they only leave that with 2 rings, you almost go, oh, well, it's not the best conversion rate. And yes, that's harsh because they're still making the final. But I think to be a dynasty, you've got to be coming out more times than not on top. And we know what, these backup, or these guys like Eli Manning, Nick Foles, I've seen it firsthand. They like playing spoiler. For like Brock Purdy's, he's got that role ready to do it to Mahomes. I just got a feeling.
Maybe Brock Purdy will go down injured in like the first minute, and Sam Darnold will play and win the Super Bowl.
What are the odds on that? Sam Darnold MVP.
Mate, get me 888. Get it up now. Bet365. Get it up now. Whatever that is.
Imagine?
I'm sorry. I probably missed a few things that you guys said. The last thing that I heard was Sky giving us an irrelevant stat about a Patriots guy who won MVP. I was quite glad it cut out at that point, to be fair.
I had more trivia as well in terms of when Adam was talking about Shanahan. You know, everyone's been talking about he could be the first father-son head coaching winning duo, couldn't it? Because of his father. They just celebrated recently, didn't they? The Broncos after they had their back-to-back titles in the late 90s. So
have you had the day off today? Is that what's happened? You've gone on the computer and found a million stats. Right.
Stats time. I don't know why I moved into Austin Powers Super Bowl, baby.
So what did you talk about when I was briefly away? It sounded like dynasty talk.
No, we're just talking about what it means for the two head coaches of these teams, mainly. So you can lead with get Bisbee involved in a question if you've got anything, Fred.
I definitely have. Obviously, one of these teams, Johnny, has got to lose. Which team does it damage more in the going forward in the long run? Because we do see quote unquote Super Bowl hangovers by teams. I mean, the Eagles haven't exactly performed to standard this year, and they lost the Super Bowl last year, and it has become a theme, so to speak. Do you think the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl? They bounced back pretty quickly. Which team do you think is going to damage more if it doesn't?
I think the pressure's definitely on the Niners. I think it's been almost 30 years since they won a Super Bowl, and you consider the Niners as like one of the I don't know, it's like wealthy sort of NFL teams that should be rich in Super Bowl wins because it's such a historic franchise, I suppose. So they've gone so long without a Super Bowl victory. This is the second time they're coming up against the Chiefs, back-to-back defeats against them in the big game. I think paints a picture of just how dominant the Chiefs and Mahomes are, and that hump is it'll throw so many more questions at the Niners. Andrew sort of touched on a few of the points about Shanahan. You've got to. I think it's a lot harder for a coach to be considered great than a player if they don't have any accolades in terms of Super Bowl wins to back that up. So it's huge for him. Obviously, a lot of talk around whether or not a win impacts his career. Same obviously with Brock Purdy. The amount of conversations I think that will happen. So they've got aging stars as well. I think they've probably got a window here, which because Mahomes, the Chiefs have got their quarterback set for the next decade. The Niners' current window, I think, is probably a bit shorter than we think. So I think the pressure is definitely on the Niners to win here. I think obviously they're two very evenly matched teams, and we both expect them to be two of the best competing teams next year as well. But I think the Chiefs, with the down year that we've always we've said at times throughout the season, obviously not in the postseason, they've been brilliant. They've managed to make it back to the Super Bowl without hitting first gear in top gear, and the Niners have been probably the most dominant team of the season. So I think the pressure's definitely on them to perform, and I think they're slight favourites at the moment. Last time I checked, but it's almost coin flip time. But you can't bet against Mahomes, but we'll see.
I don't want to be a negative Nelly about the game, Adam, but you've not seemed entirely enthralled about this Super Bowl. And you've been completely fine on the show. I'm not saying you need to bring the energy or anything like that. So that's why I'm here. I have to bring enough energy for all of us. And but you've said pretty much as soon as it was Super Bowl, but you're like not really bothered about this game. Do you think that we've found that it has become a little bit more frequent in recent times that the Super Bowl is becoming a little bit predictable? Maybe some may say. Like, what did you think? Do you think that it does run the risk of it feeling a little bit similar year on year with Chiefs? Chiefs always in the AFC. The 49ers have been sniffing around there for a good while. Like, it was quite the idea of the Ravens or the Lions going to the Super Bowl. I thought was a lot more thrilling and exciting than the idea of the 49ers and the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think it can get a bit samey when you do have a team that just consistently goes to the Super Bowl every year, or gets close to it. It feels like once you reach the championship games, you're kind of stuck with just a few teams. This year, actually, we had a couple that weren't, but obviously they both didn't make it. So that is a bit of a shame that you get that. I mean, when you have. We've been talking throughout the season and before about how strong the AFC is, and yet it's the same representative again. This is what I mean. It's like, so it does reach that point where it can get a little bit like that. On the NFC side, I know last year was the Eagles, this year is the 49ers, so it's different teams in that respect, but they were the two teams in the championship game. So it's a bit like we're not really seeing much difference happening here. Obviously, if you go back, you had the Patriots that were there forever, doing winning all the time or getting into the Super Bowl. So it's not uncommon that this happens, and obviously you do get dynasties like this sometimes where it can go down that route. But I mean, that neither team are particularly likable, I don't think. They're not. There's no underdog story here, which that might be more of a British thing than an American thing. I would throw that out there that might be more how some of us feel about it rather than other people. But I think sometimes it can get a bit samey once it reaches this point of the whole competition.
Well, the Patriots didn't win all of them, did they, Andrew? You know all about that, buddy, don't you? Yeah. Look at Sky. Breaks his heart, bless him. And the biggest important question, I suppose, of the Super Bowl is what colour is the Gatorade going to be?
Oh, got to be red or pink, surely.
Well, you'll have to tune in to the Friday show for the betting show because we will be going through all the odds of what colour the Gatorade will be, what the first song will be that Usher performs, and all of the proper odds that you really, really want to bet on for the Super Bowl. So, maybe stay tuned for that one, Fred, and we'll let you know what colour it'll be.
I had to get Gatorade stats, surely.
Gatorade stats. What's this show turned into? Will your show be on Friday?
Yep, Friday 6:30. We'll be live, going through all your. We're gonna have a couple of bet builders, and then we'll have all the fun odds as well. Brought to you by Sky, not the company, Mr. Pank. Because he is our resident long odds, crazy odds performer, and you'll have a couple of 2-to-1s from Adam, I'm sure.
Easy money.
The coin toss, 50-50. That's Adam's got his money on that.
I'm the underdog. I'm the Brock Purdy of the betting show. Mr. Irrelevant, but then in the brightest lights, I'm going to show up.
And Adam, is Adam Bill Belichick in that case then?
Yeah.
Always brings the hoodie.
Really, really angry all the time. Yeah.
just win, baby. Just win. That's it. Just win games. Do your job and win games. That's
exactly.
Well, the Super Bowl for some of us is going to be an exciting night, and for anyone who is out there going to be watching it, it's a great time to watch NFL with your friends, to enjoy yourselves, to have some drinks and some food. So, when we will be enjoying it together, or even some of us apart, and then it will be, it'll be a really good fun night, and then it will accumulate into the off season, which we will not be going away for. We're definitely remaining throughout the off season. We'll go into a few things in February, then straight into free agency, a bit of draft talk as well. We have already started doing some of the draft talk, so make sure you go and check out them episodes as well. But really, really good by Andrew and Adam. And then obviously straight into the draft in April, and it'll be our summer holidays, which will be very nice. Make sure you enjoyed the Super Bowl. Some massive news today with the Philadelphia Eagles being announced as the team to be playing in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. That will also be the Friday night game on the opening week of the season, which is quite a bold ballsy move, not a bold, boozy move, which I do believe. I think it was our own Neil Reynolds that got the scoop on that in the Roger Goodell meeting. So congrats to Neil for getting that, and I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun. We'll go into the NFL awards now. Lots of awards coming up. It will be on this Saturday, I believe, is the honors night. So we'll go into MVP. Well, no, we won't go MVP. We'll go backwards instead. We won't go assistant coach of the year. We don't. Do you want to talk about assistant coach of the year?
Ben Johnson.
Yeah. Well, it's Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Todd Monken, Jim Schwartz, or Bobby Slovic.
I can't make a case for Monken after refused to run the ball, so go with Andrew.
It's got to be Ben Johnson. Anyway, we'll go on to Coach of the Year. Dan Campbell of the Lions, John Harbaugh of the Ravens, D'Amico Ryans of the Texans, Kyle Shanahan of 49ers, and Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns. Sky, I'll go to you on this one. Who's winning this and why are they winning it?
I'd say D'Amico Ryans, only because when you and Bisbee went through in the off-season, obviously I didn't predict the Texans to make the playoffs, but I did say I felt there was going to be a buy-in there with him being a former player of the Texans, and what a job he done developing them. I know people focus on Stefanski and Campbell, but I feel like there were expectations on both of those teams going into this season anyway, whereas the Texans almost had no expectations, so he deserves pretty much all the credit for what's happened in Houston and development of CJ Stroud.
Do you not think that maybe there's a little bit of Dan Campbell should be forward there? Because I feel like D'Amico Ryans, a lot of it, people could say this is CJ Stroud that's turned this around, and he was already a very talented player anyway, whereas Dan Campbell's sort of taken a bit of a ragtag bunch of guys and made them into this, powerhouse of a team, and this team that really believes and also has taken the team as far as it has ever been in 30 years.
I'm going to upset you with this. I don't know why, since that Dan Campbell presser after the game where he was like, I don't know if we'll make it back here. Like, of course, I'm paraphrasing, but I was almost like, come on, man. Like, you went for it a bit too much, and in the brightest lights, like, you almost overthought it all. Like, it doesn't take anything away from the season, but I don't know. It's just sort of made me want D'Amico Ryans to win it.
I do have to reiterate, these awards are just for season, aren't they? They don't include playoffs. They're not meant to anyway, but they definitely
I feel like we've had this conversation, all of us. I feel like it doesn't include it, but like every year there's never a surprise, like when you look at who's made the playoffs or how they've done. Like there must be some secret voting underneath.
Do you mean there's a secret island where they all vote?
Yeah.
Whoa.
We're waiting for our invite.
Conspiracy theories, my man. Comeback player of the year, Johnny. Joe Flacco, Damar Hamlin, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, and Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, it's got to be one guy, hasn't it? I mean...
I feel it has to be Damar Hamlin because of
But you're going to say it's not going to be Damar.
Well, I thought you did it because there's been a lot of noise about Joe Flacco potentially winning it, and which is great. Obviously, Damar Hamlin literally died on the field, and he may not have played a lot of football, but yeah, it's fantastic to see that he's doing well for, and still in NFL football. I think that's such a brilliant achievement to be on the field. So I've got no qualms against Damar Hamlin. But there has been a lot of candidates, I think, for comeback player of the year. So I think it's nice to see that the conversation. But yeah, Damar Hamlin has to be surely.
Oh, no Baker in there, Sky.
Am I allowed to say Damar Hamlin didn't make that fourth down, and that's why Baker Mayfield didn't get to come back on that alone? Surely, I called it in the off season, and everyone laughed.
We laughed because we said if Hamlin steps onto a field, he'll win it. He doesn't need to do anything else other than step on a field.
Out of everyone we've named, though, I don't think any of the other guys should win over Hamlin. I think Mayfield is probably the only one who's. I know some people would even point to Tua and his injuries, but I wouldn't say so. I would say it's between like 80% Hamlin and 20% Baker.
Shouldn't the comeback player of the year come back from something like an injury?
There's not even.
Hamlin came back from death, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm not going against him. I'm going against the idiot who's saying Baker Mayfield.
There's no criteria,
the
though.
whole Jesus reborn Easter story.
We had this argument last year when we said that Geno Smith came back from being bad for his career.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting a broken jaw. He got punched by his teammate. Don't forget.
It's
Years
not
ago.
a comeback, is it? What have you come back from?
I was thinking this the other day, and I was like, I bet you can't get odds for it yet, but I would put money on it now. I'd put money on Nick Chubb or Aaron Rodgers winning it next year.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
Yeah.
One of them. Surely. I'd put 50 quid on each before these season even started. Andrew, I know I was going to go to Adam, but he hates defense. He's only all about the offense, that guy. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Joey Porter Jr., Kobe Turner, Devin Witherspoon. I took issue with this list as well, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Will Anderson.
Shut up! What are you talking about, Will Anderson?
The Texans want offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year, so they'll take that. I think he's been. Who do you want to win it?
My guy isn't even on the list.
Well, I'm aware of that, but then why not Will Anderson?
Why not your guy Porter?
I think Porter shouldn't be on there. I think it should be Brian Branch, personally. I think Brian Branch.
I thought there was a couple of snubs within a few of these ones. I thought Steichen should have been in for Coach of the Year, but I think Brian Branch should have been in for this. But I think the mark that Will Anderson's made and been a bit of a leader on that defense as well, it deserves the nod. I don't think any of the others have particularly done anything over what he has in particular. Maybe you can make an argument for Bland, but I'm going with Will Anderson.
I'd probably go for Will Anderson after Brian Branch, to be fair. So I can't be that angry at that. Adam, offensive Rookie of the Year. You got between Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, and CJ Stroud. I think this is between two, personally.
I think it's probably Stroud that's going to win it. He's been rookie-wise, I think he's had the biggest impact, I would argue, out of all of them on the team. And bear in mind, the Texans, obviously, they were the number 2 pick, wasn't it, the year before? So to go from the number 2 pick to a playoff team, I think we can, like a little bit like you were saying, is it D'Amico Ryans or is it Stroud? And I think the fact that that's even the conversation probably shows that Stroud should be winning this as the offensive Rookie of the Year.
You don't think Puka Nacua will get close?
He won it.
I think he probably deserves the mention, doesn't he? Because he's broken all the rookie records. He probably does. It's just that unfortunately, I think that more often than not, if there's a quarterback in the award, a quarterback gets the award. So that's the problem.
What were you saying there, Sky? Sorry, he won what the other day?
He won the Sporting News Rookie of the Year over Stroud, Nacua.
Oh, really?
Last weekend, yeah. I think it's literally like I feel like the games that he missed 2 games, didn't he, Stroud? When he had the concussion, I feel like that can almost, considering Nacua set so many records, I feel like that works in his favour.
And literally looked way better than Cooper Kupp in a lot of games. And Cooper Kupp was the Offensive Player of the Year, 2 seasons ago. Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, I'll round table these because these are a bit more broader and we can chat about it, I suppose. Offensive Player of the Year: Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, and Dak Prescott. We all know Dak's not going to win it, so he's going to be put to the side. I mean, who would like to lead? Sky, who do you think is going to win this? Who should win it?
I always feel bad talking about this award because it almost, like, especially in a season like this, it just feels like a consolation prize for someone who should have won the MVP, but they just won't give them to him because it's a quarterback award. I feel like McCaffrey or Lamb. I feel like McCaffrey, we know, has been, the standout player for the 49ers. Everything runs through him, despite them having so many superstars. But also I feel like CeeDee Lamb for me was, I know people talk about Tyreek Hill, but I think he was the best receiver this season. He had some insane stretches through the middle of the season, and I know obviously didn't really come up big in the playoffs, but yeah, I would still lean towards McCaffrey though.
Still lean towards McCaffrey. Anyone want to take umbrage with that?
No,
I think Lamb. I think Lamb he was the number one wide receiver, wasn't he, on the season stats wise? I think that probably will count for quite a lot if you just because it's just about the season. So yeah, I think McCaffrey probably had the biggest impact when he was out. He was injured, wasn't he? Did he miss a game or something? I think that kind of, or he was sort of like,
maybe.
Yeah, I think Lamb overall probably had the most impact.
Go on, I felt like Andrew, you were going to come in a second ago as well before Adam did.
I was just going to agree with Sky. I'm on McCaffrey. I think I think what he offers and what he's achieved, obviously being in the running game and the receiving game, I think it just has been really dominant. So that's why I'd put my vote on McCaffrey.
I take it, Johnny, you're in cahoots with these lot with CMC.
Yeah, can't argue against that. I think he's put up I think 2,000 yards from the line of scrimmage. So yeah, and the amount of touchdowns he scores is ridiculous. He's something I feel every time we watch him, he's always able to create something even out of nothing. So yeah, I think he's been a highlight in a year. I think, like, as Sky said, it's been a year where a quarterback throughout the season didn't really dominate, and it would have been nice to see someone else get the MVP award, but it's difficult in this sport. But McCaffrey, has easily been, I think, the pick of a bunch for me.
Okay, 3/4 of the way through the season, Adam put money on Tyreek Hill winning the MVP. So why would you then not think he might be offensive player of the year?
Because he got injured, didn't he, and missed a couple of games.
I know, but Lamb was only good at the back end of the year, wasn't he?
I think over the course of the season, stats-wise, I think Lamb was the highest, wasn't he? That's the issue. I do think that they take a lot of that into account when it comes to winning these awards.
Do you think it is all about stats?
I don't think it's all about stats, but I think a lot of it is about stats. So I think it's going to take one hell of a story, I think, to go against them.
Like coming back from the dead.
Yeah, I mean, that would help.
Sorry, guys, you just haven't got a good enough story.
Also helps CeeDee Lamb's better than Tyreek Hill, but there you go.
Whoa! Dolphins fans everywhere, go wild!
Dolphins fans are coming.
Don't shade his new receiver, mate. Don't shade his new fantasy receiver. He's spent a lot.
Defensive player of the year. We've got Deron Bland, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and TJ Watt. It's going to be interesting to hear what you guys all think. Andrew, do you want to lead off with it?
TJ Watt. Had money on it before the year started. I'm still sticking it with it. 19 sacks first, 4 forced fumbles fifth. When he's on the field, he wins the games. So if it's a stats thing, he's first in sacks. That's his job. Win.
For those who are listening, I am waving my Steelers towel because I completely agree. He's incredible. Johnny, do you want to tell me I'm wrong? Tell Andrew he's wrong.
It's got to be Myles Garrett for me. He's the guy.
You shut your mouth, Johnny. I have no grounds on this podcast. There's bloody ex-Baker Mayfield.
Myles Garrett is just the most dominant man, and he's got a great rig. He's a brilliant,
great rig. This MVP. It's MVP. It's defensive MVP. There were the games this year where he won the Browns the games. I remember the Colts game where he had, I think it was about 3 sacks, a blocked field goal, enormous amount of pressures. I think he turned up big for the Browns in a year where they needed someone to step up and fill the void. So yeah, I'm going for the big guy. Good year. I have to admit, I will give it to John. His rig is fucking fantastic, and I believe I just F-bombed. Wow! Whoa! Where have I got? I've turned into a crazy guy in Super Bowl week. Apologies for my F-bomb. That is not a usual occurrence on this podcast at all. Sky, are you siding with this guy, or are you going to go?
I've got the giggles.
You're going to go Michael Parsons. He's a Cowboys player. We know this.
Well, you read my mind because in the off season I had Will Anderson for rookie and Parsons for this side, but I can't make a case for him. I would say TJ Watt or Garrett, but the thing that I think is going to work in Garrett's favor is this whole narrative of, they went through X amount of quarterbacks, they still made the playoffs. He was still, the main guy week in, week out. So, yeah, I'd love to make a case for Parsons or even Bland because, he's had a really good season with the, almost Madden-like amount of pick sixes at one point. It was crazy, right? But I would still go with Garrett. I'm sorry, Freddie.
So, hang on. I'll jump in, Fred, before you get in there. Because the Browns went through 4 quarterbacks, the Steelers went through 3 and still made the playoffs, and their 3 quarterbacks were worse than the Browns.
Guy. Yeah. Where's your stats now, buddy?
I feel like it's so bad with the narratives, but it's almost like in the off season, people will like, oh well, we know the Steelers don't have a quarterback, whereas because the Browns, people convinced themselves Deshaun Watson was suddenly going to, stop and be good. I was trying to think of a massage pun, but he's just massaging himself right now, and he's been injured all year. So just give Garrett the award. But no, I'm sorry. No stats.
No stats, no F-bombs. Adam?
It's defense, isn't it? I don't care. So
could have just said Max Crosby after all of that.
You could have said Max Crosby, yeah. That would have been completely fine. We'd have been like, yeah, well, that's reasonable. MVP time. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy. No CJ Stroud for me and Sky, who we were definitely on that bandwagon for a good portion of the season on the main show. Adam, who is your MVP for this year?
Lamar. I'm going to go for Lamar still. I think he showed that he can not only be a rushing quarterback, but he can pass as well. And I think that was quite impressive that he managed to do both of them. So, yeah, I'm going to go for them. He struggled in the playoffs, but they don't count. So, I think he did pretty well.
Johnny, what do you reckon? Lamar for MVP?
Yeah, I think obviously it looks like it will be Lamar. We touched on this year. Lamar was probably the quarterback who developed most and probably stood out in a year where the top quarterbacks. Mahomes was having a couple of problems. Obviously, Joe Burrow's injury. There wasn't anyone, I don't think, during the middle of the season or towards the back end who was probably grabbed the mantle of the award, and that's why players like McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill were mentioned. But it's a de facto quarterback award, isn't it? So I think Lamar has to win it.
Andrew, I can hear a lot of shouting going on in Australia from one Byron Burbage, our good friend down there, who, when I said about MVP, he was fuming that Josh Allen hasn't been in the conversation at all. Do you agree with him?
I do, yeah. I fully agree with him. I started on this a long time ago as well. For me, I think it feels like they've already crowned Lamar the MVP, haven't they? It doesn't feel like anybody's got a shot. But for me, I think the Ravens' defense has been their MVP. I think Lamar's played great, but that defense has given him great field position. It's kept them in games and let him do his thing. And I think that's been the story for the Ravens, not Lamar. Whereas the Bills, I think Josh Allen, most touchdowns in the league, 29 passing touchdowns 5th, 15 rushing touchdowns 2nd, 4,830 yards total for the team. Halfway midpoint of the season, they were being written off of even if they were going to qualify for the playoffs, or they might be a wild card. Then he puts the team on his back and he drags them for a 6-game winning streak and gets them the 2nd seed and the best possible place to win in the playoffs. And he did that with a beat-up defense that was really struggling in that back end of the season. I feel like that for me is an MVP performance, whereas Lamar Jackson's just played great. So I'm fully in the camp of of Josh Allen being MVP.
Adam and Johnny both seemed very unconvinced about everything you were saying.
No, I agree as well. I think what probably hurts Allen's case is the inconsistency. I think at the start of the year, but he definitely carried Bills towards the back end of the year, and to within a shot basically of beating the Chiefs. So in the postseason. So yeah, I definitely think he's in contention and should be.
Can I ask, do we actually think that there's actually been an MVP? Like someone who's been so standout that this year? Because I think that's more the question.
Well, firstly, Sky, who do you reckon is going to win MVP? And then I think that's an interesting one we'll just quickly talk about.
I feel so boring saying Lamar only because I said him in the off season. I had to try and dig to find a stat as to why he should have it. And apparently there was something linked to the 2007 Patriots, which had me go, oh, we were good that year, maybe, but I'm still not convinced. Whereas McCaffrey led the league in rushing yards after first contact, more than 10-yard plus yard runs, 15-yard runs, first downs, receiving first downs, touchdown receptions, receiving yards by a running back. Johnny said he had 2,000 yards. He had 21 touchdowns. I think he broke one of Frank Gore's records on the Niners, who was obviously a legend of the 49ers. It's like the same year that Cooper Kupp didn't get it and Aaron Rodgers did, I think, when he got the Triple Crown for the receiver position. Why do we still go to this narrative of giving it to a quarterback? I don't.
And I think that's the answer to the question that Adam's saying is about it's who has actually wowed us. For me, Christian McCaffrey has wowed me.
Yeah,
he has been incredible.
One. Yeah,
he's been box office every game that he's played in, pretty much. Like, I don't know outside. It's complicated, isn't it? Because, like Adam said, the stats definitely are a narrative in it, and stats should be a narrative in it. But I don't think it should be taken away that the eye test of this all. And some players are more exciting and more fun to watch, and people like Christian McCaffrey are, and there's certain quarterbacks that are as well. Josh Allen, Lamar are fun to watch. Dak isn't that fun to watch, but he has been impressive this year. And then Brock Purdy again isn't visually that impressive, but has still been very good and played at a very, very high level. So I mean, I can sort of get where you're coming from with that, Adam.
Thanks,
Jordan.
I think it's going to be an MVP for a quarterback because they'll be put in a position where they'll say they're the one that has had to call the play or throw the ball or manage the clock and manage the team. So the running back wouldn't have done those stats if it wasn't for the quarterback, or the wide receiver wouldn't have caught the ball if it wasn't for the quarterback. So I think that's why the MVP label of like it being they are more than just stats throwing a ball is why people put the MVP label on a quarterback over a running back or a wide receiver.
But it would be nice to see maybe not a quarterback win it for once. That would be good fun. Last person to do is Adrian Peterson, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Simultaneous nods of all four heads. I quite enjoy that. That doesn't happen very often with all four of you nodding like that. So I'm quite impressed.
All with big smirks.
And big smirks as well. Thank you everybody for watching and viewing. Apologies for an accidental F-bomb. I mean, we're allowed one a year, right? That's okay. Go on, Sky.
Can I ask, are you all picking the Chiefs? I just need to know before we go. Because I feel like at the beginning everyone was saying Chiefs other than me. I just need to keep this.
I'm going 49ers.
This McCaffrey talk has made me feel. Nah, I'm sticking with Chiefs.
49ers.
Adam?
Yeah.
Adam's Chiefs. I'm 49ers. Sky's 49ers. So we've got a very interesting scenario happening. Again, thank you everybody for watching and for listening. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Thank you, Sky, Andrew, Johnny, and Adam. It has been lots of fun. Enjoy the Super Bowl. People who we know in Vegas, enjoy Vegas. I'm sure it'll be a heck of a time there. And we'll see you all next week with probably an early show, probably coming on the Monday to do a post-Super Bowl reaction, and also check out the betting show on Friday as well with the guys for all your betting needs. I'm sure that'll be fantastic as well. Until then, enjoy your week and enjoy the Super Bowl.